right then and there, my whole world had a flip. I'm like, jail, like that was not in the plans for the
party.
Summer. Like that was not in the plans for I couldn't even begin to fathom what was going on. My mom was just like, Jason, like they're saying 5 years or 4 to 6 months. It's like you're gonna have to do the. And I'm like, why? Like I can't go to jail.
And this is where you meet Chris. Is this right? Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Spiritually Challenged. I'm Jay Sherrick, once again here with my longtime friend and writing partner,
David Ron,
sitting right there in his son's gaming chair. Yeah, there it is. And this is a really exciting episode. This is one I've really been looking forward to. We have with us two guests. We have a return guest, our first return guest, Chris Henrikson, who came and spoke with us months ago about your work with Street Poets, right? Tell us what Street Poets is again.
Street Poets is a nonprofit organization that works with young people in Los Angeles, harnessing the healing power of poetry and music to empower young people to transform their lives and dream a new world into being for us all.
I feel like he said that before.
So Street Poets is an organization. It is an amazing organization that works with at-risk youth.
Yes.
Initially, it was just in prisons, and then it now expanded into communities and all kinds of things. And last time you were here, you told us this incredible story about one of the people who you have been working with, or the organization has also been working with for years and years and years. And it was an incredible, mind-blowing story. And it was about a young man who became a full-grown man named Jason. And here we have with us today Jason
himself.
Jason Quezada, the very man in the story. And I'm so excited about having you here because the stories that Chris was telling about your life and the journey you've been on is unbelievable. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
So Jason, let's just jump right into it, okay? If you don't mind.
Let's do it.
Tell me a little bit about growing up. Where did you grow up? What was your life like? What was the neighborhood like?
So I grew up in Los Angeles, born and raised in West Adams, right next to downtown.
You're a Dodger fan?
Dodger fan, Laker fan, diehard. You know,
Okay.
Now I'm a LAFC fan. We got a little soccer club there.
Nice.
We got a stadium there.
Nice.
So it's nice.
Brothers and sisters, mother and father? What do you have?
Yes, I have. I'm the middle child. I have two of the brothers, the older and the younger, Danny and Brian.
Nice.
My father passed away when I was 12.
Okay.
And so my mom basically raised us, all three of us, in West Adams.
Wow.
And
What did she do for a living?
so she went from cleaning homes, cleaning hospitals, and then the last, I would say maybe 20 years, she did a bunch of community outreach for a nonprofit called Maternal and Child Health Access. Recently retired, and she raised three boys in a neighborhood that was pretty rough. You know?
So how rough was it? I mean, give us a sense of like what it was like
at the time growing up, 90s. You know, it was the height of gangster culture. You know.
Yeah.
And where I lived, there was shootings, you know, all the time. You're hearing gunshots when you're outside, lots of vigils, lots of people losing their lives, lots of moms losing their kids, moms just trying to keep their kids safe. I was real lucky. My mom tried to get me into everything she could, every sport program, every after. Like, it's crazy. I didn't even know now, like, how many programs there was. Yeah, just trying to keep you busy. That was her way of, like,
keeping you
safe
safe.
off the street, keeping you safe, you know? But yeah, the neighborhood was real crazy. Just a lot of violence going on. Definitely the pressure of like joining gangs. If you're not busy, if you're not playing sports, if you're not doing something, you're usually recruited pretty quickly into the gangs, you know.
And it's recruited. So they're like actively looking for kids who are not doing stuff and who are available.
If you're not doing nothing, especially as a kid, you're gonna look for something,
right?
And if something's looking for you and you're looking for something, boom,
right?
You know? And I think that's kind of what happens.
Did you have friends who didn't make it? You know, I mean, were there people that were close to you that died, or is it just sort of like, oh, I know that guy.
I think if you ask all the kids growing up in that area at the time, everyone knew somebody who had been killed,
right?
You know
from gang violence,
from shooting, either killed or in prison,
right?
You know, and that's just the normal. And that was the normal at that time, you know, growing up. And I think a lot of kids, you kind of get desensitized about it, because it's just like another funeral, another death, someone else got shot, and it's sad, it's really sad.
What happened to you? What was your, like, so you're a kid, your mom's
journey,
keeping you busy with sports and stuff like that. Where did you go?
I got something to say. I always been a little badass kid, just right off the fucking top, my mom would always say, you're a good, loving kid, but you just love that little bit of trouble. Chris always says it's about getting into the right kind of trouble. So I didn't find the right kind of trouble till a little bit later on in life,
Right.
But I think, there was always a part of me that was like, a little risky.
Yeah.
I like to play a little, I like to risk stuff,
Push it a little bit.
Push the boundaries. And, first started, I think I was just like any normal kid, My father passing really affected me a lot. Parents were separated.
12 or 14?
I was 12
yeah.
13. Yeah. And my parents had already been separated for a couple of years. But I think you always have the hope, like, your dad's going to come into your life, you're going to see him eventually. That's always in the back of my mind. But I think when my mom broke the news to us that my father had passed away, it was like a deep shock that you're dealing with at that young age when you kind of really needed that.
Yeah.
I realize now, like, my mom, I always consider myself a mama's boy.
Yeah.
But I realized, like, around that age, 12, 13, now you kind of need someone to show you how to be a man, and how to, while you're going through puberty, you're looking at girls different.
Right.
And I think my mom sitting me and my brothers down and it's like, hey, your father passed, was just like a really deep blow. And I remember that day I was in the living room with my mom and it just felt like all the air had been sucked out of me. And it was something that my brain at that moment couldn't even put together. Like, what? My dad? Like, I'm never going to see him again? Like, what do you mean?
How did he die? What did he die of?
All right.
It wasn't bullets.
My dad actually died having sex with another woman.
Oh.
It's cool. The parents separated, but he died going out. Official, he had a heart attack.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It was a trip. They didn't tell me.
At 12.
It was knowledge I found out later.
Your father died, and here's how.
So I found this knowledge way later on in life, and I went to go see some family down there. And even though my dad been a rocky relationship and there's been lots of trauma and stuff, it's still my dad. So I think the little boy in me or the young boy would just hope my dad would come around again, or he'd see me play a baseball game again or something.
All those dreams.
Yeah, all those dreams. But that just snuffed it, And I remember that and being like, all right, like, there's no dad. Yeah. Like, there really is no dad coming here for you. There's no, like, get comfortable with that.
So then how did you react? What happens in your life?
I felt this huge hole in me. It really messed me up,
Yeah.
And I think I began to look for that father figure or for that adult male role model in different places. And I always took a shine to, like, the gangsters in my neighborhood. They got the nice cars. They got the pretty fly women. They're cool. Yeah. They got all the cool stuff. But my mom, I grew up in my mom's a big time Baptist church lady. Church twice a week,
right? And
we go to church in this house. So I think for the most part, my mom had kind of like put it deep embedded in me, like, those are not good guys.
Right.
I think ultimately, I started smoking a little weed. Just started finding things that would make the uncomfortable more comfortable.
Yeah, of course.
You're freaking walking on this hole and you're like, oh man, and you smoke a little weed, it's like, it doesn't feel so bad. Yeah. I don't feel that sad.
It's so amazing because, you grew up in such a different world than, certainly David or I did and Chris. But and all the people we've talked to, that have come through and done podcasts with us, we're all the same. It's like, it hurts. Oh, if I smoke this or if I do that, it doesn't hurt as much. I'm gonna do that. It's just
whatever that is. It doesn't matter.
That's just we're all human on that level. So you're trying these things out. You're a young man trying some things out, trying to make the pain stop a little bit.
For sure, and I think it had been a culmination of a rough, turbulent childhood. There's just a lot of stuff happened to me in my early age, from being molested and
God,
I got molested by a female babysitter. And not being believed. So you're growing up with all these wounds, then you get to age, then your dad dies, and then it's like, okay, there's just this huge hole in you. Yeah, so here I was, I'm graduating from middle school, I get accepted into a Catholic private high school. I was not feeling it. Like, by that time I was, I spent the whole summer smoking weed. I was going into 9th grade, and it's not going to work for me. I was already ditching the summer school that I had to go to attend. And one day the Father John, calls in my mom. He's like, hey, we got to talk about Jason's behavior. And, we only want kids who want to be at this school.
Right.
If Jason doesn't want to be here, we don't want him to be here forcefully. And I was just like, fuck no, I don't want to be here.
You said it right in front of Father John.
Right in front of the Father. And my mom gave me like the nastiest pinch, like on my arm, like side. She whispers to me in Spanish, like, yo, I just gave the tuition check. And
she's paying, she's working God knows how many hours to pay your tuition, and she's paying for a private school. Yeah. Wow, what a mother you've got.
Oh, amazing. Like, I look back, I don't know how she did it.
Yeah. How?
So she's like, you're going to stay. I just wrote this check. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, no. Like, right there, I was just like, I remember it was one of my true, like, first beginning rebellions. And I was like, nope. Like, no, I'm not going to fucking stay at the school. Yeah. Man, if I could go back to one thing that I was just like, whoo.
Because the public school was a tough place? Is that what you mean?
It was more than tough. My local high school was built like a prison, literally. Gates, handles, spikes on top. If you look at the thing, it looks like a penitentiary prison.
Wow.
I mean, kids are getting beat up in the restroom. Kids are smoking weed in the hallway. Like, it just was a totally different place. But to my mischievous teenage, bad, kind of rebellious self, it was exciting.
Yeah.
And, I loved it because school was ridiculously easy coming from private school. Plus, I'm a pretty social guy, fit in real cool. And I said, I'm going to throw a 9th grade rager. I'm going to make my name in 9th grade.
Right.
That's how we do it. And I decided to throw this big ditching party, man. We used to call them DPs, ditching parties, right? So I had about 30, 40 kids. And, came to my house. My mom worked. I knew she'd be gone from like 8 to 6 so we could party on. But it ended up being what I thought was going to be a cool party. Ended up being like something out of freaking Hollywood movies, like 150 kids, like just moth, like every room packed. So we're drinking 40 beers, big huge bottles, and we're having a great time. And there was this girl named Natalie from my 3rd period class, and she brought her boyfriend, who was already he was a gangster, full buy. I didn't fit the profile buy it. I didn't know him, but I knew her. So I was like, hey, the pizza's here. Can you get the pizza? And they volunteered, like, yeah, we'll get it. The pizza guy's downstairs. So I gave her the money. And they come up with the pizzas, So we're eating pizza, smoking. We're having a great time. I can't tell you until my phone rings. So I answer the phone, and it's, there's this sergeant from LAPD, Southwest Division, we're outside of every house surrounded. So I thought someone was pranking me.
We have your house surrounded?
Surrounded. We're out here. And I thought, I was like, man, stop playing. I was like, turn the party back on. So the music went on, and they called again. And he was like, real stern, don't hang up. Like, we're out here. This is not a joke. Look out your window. So I look out, and the whole front of my house is just cops. Like the movies. Doors out, guns in the... I'm like, no, this is like, what? In my mind, I'm like, all of this for a ditching party? I'm still pretty new. I've never had no legal troubles.
Right.
Like, I was like, my mama told me ditching was bad. I was just like, I didn't know it was this bad, So I'm like, guys, go out through the back, because we have a back door too. So I'm like, everybody out through the back. The cops are here. Man, we go out to the back, and there's a full SWAT team. The whole truck just open. I'm like, what? And the cop calls again. He's like, hey, don't hang up. Why? We just had a ditching party. He's like, shut up. You know what you did. Now just come out one by one, listen to my instructions, hands in the air, and do that, and no one's going to get hurt. By then, all the party knows, and everyone's all panicking. And we come out one by one, and they started arresting us. My whole block is filled with all these high school kids on their knees, waiting to be identified, because it turns out Natalie and her boyfriend robbed the pizza van and kept the money. Yeah. So now this party became a strong arm robbery case. They happened to use a gun that was left in my house from my dad. It went so bad. At that moment, my mom's coworker's car is just like, God. So my mom's coming up, and I'm like in the back of the cop car, just like crying. I'm full of crying. I've never been arrested. Yeah. Oh, they're talking about robbery. There's like cops, all this. My mom's thinking the worst. She sees all these cops. She's like, who did you guys kill? What happened?
Oh,
like,
my God. She's
crying, and they're like, ma'am, just follow us to the police station.
So what happens to you? Are you now implicated in the crime? And
Yes. Originally, I wasn't going to be charged with anything. I was just going to come in and basically like testify what happened. because they found the money on the
Right.
girl's boyfriend, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, the guy, her boyfriend, was shot and killed 3 weeks before court starts. Like
The guy who committed the robbery
The
got
guy
shot and killed. He's a gang banger.
He's a gang member.
Yeah.
Yes, he got killed by a rival gang 3 weeks before we went to court.
He was sort of your alibi in a way because
Yes.
he did it.
Exactly.
But now he's gone.
They needed to prosecute somebody, right?
That's exactly
Yeah.
That's exactly how it went down.
Yeah.
So I go to court, and the judge I get, my luck jaw, is known for being the toughest judge in the court.
Oh my God.
She basically said what you said. Someone has to pay. There was a crime committed. This poor man was terrorized, and basically said none of this would have took place had he not thrown that party. I was like, ugh. My mind was just like, what are you trying to say here?
So you're a kid in high school who threw a party, something bad went down, and you end up going to juvie for it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. With my mom being scared,
Right.
terrified, didn't even know about hiring a
lawyer.
attorney or anything.
Right.
Our public defender comes out and says, hey guys, we could fight this case. If we lose, you're going to do 5 years in YA, but if you take the deal right now, you could do 6 months in juvenile hall. And I was like, what? Like, right then and there, my whole world had flipped. I'm like, jail? Like that was not the plan for the
party.
summer. Like that was not in the plans for I couldn't even begin to fathom what was going on. My mom left, and my mom was just like thinking, Jason, like they're saying 5 years or 4 to 6 months. It's like a non-brainer. No, it's you're gonna have to do the 4. And I'm like, why? Like I can't go to jail. And yeah, so she basically
She made the deal.
I made the deal, and I got a lesser charge that kept me in camp for grand theft larceny. And I went to juvenile hall. I went to camp, and it was the most terrifying fucking thing I hadn't even turned 14 yet.
Oh.
So they turned me. I went to this what they call Unit J, and it's for young offenders under 14. And it's all these little tiny kids. I was the biggest kid in there because I was already tall, but
Right.
it's little kids from 11 who have done anywhere from robbery to attempted murder. It was a crazy little unit, and I just was my whole world was rocked.
Well, you were not long ago. You were at a private school, playing sports and everything like that, and now you're in a juvie camp. It sounds like with some tough kids. And this is where you meet Chris. Is this right? Okay, so tell us about when you meet Jason.
Wow.
So Jason joined our poetry writing workshop that I was teaching.
I have a question about that. So why? Why did you join? Was it something like you have to go do that, or
honestly, it was a lifeline.
So you recognized it as something.
Yeah, I didn't know much. I didn't know anything about poetry. I kind of read poetry being kind of feminine-ish and kind of being weird.
Yeah.
And, but it beat being on my bunk.
Yeah.
Not doing crap.
Right.
And I don't know, something about this cool, rockish looking white dude who came in, looked at me.
All right, hold on. Let's not. I don't know. Rockish looking.
You mean Amish?
He used to have a Thunderbird back then. It was a little more.
All right, so tell us
Pontiac
about
Grand Prix, actually.
Okay, Pontiac Grand Prix.
Tell us about meeting Jason, and is this one of the first programs Street Poets is?
It was our flagship program.
It's
where the organization started in this facility. It was a juvenile probation camp in the Santa Monica Mountains, and I had been teaching up there for 6 years, I think, about the time I met Jason. So it was unusual for us to allow actually a 14-year-old into the class, so we had to sort of test Jason out, and there were definitely people, older guys in the workshop that were like, he's too young, get him out of here.
Yeah.
But Jason actually I could feel how nervous he was and how kind of insecure he felt in the setting. He was very super sensitive to everyone else's vibe. He was always checking people out and checking people's body language out, and he was
reading the room, Jason.
Even when he was reading his own poem, he would
that's nerve-wracking.
While reading, he would be checking to see how people are responding to. I mean, you were. It was super
survival.
Yeah.
And but there was something about him that I really liked, and he was smart. he really just on a purely like skill level in terms of his writing ability, his ability to tell his own story was really advanced. At 14, especially in that facility where you get a lot of kids that have dropped out of school. Right. So I was intrigued by him.
Yeah.
And he also, I think he saw me as like, oh, this guy's not that different from someone like. I felt safe to him. I think.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I was like an island. I was an island of safety.
Chris is right. When I saw him, I was like, all right, this dude's neutral. Like this dude's fucking safe.
Yeah. This
like,
guy won't kill me.
Yes, like this dude's not gonna punish me. Like, you know, it was crazy to say this, but back then, those probation camps, like staff would set up fights and stuff. So I really got there and I started to see these things, and I was like, "You are not safe." And I remember.
Wait, hold on. Back up there a second. So the staff at the facility for entertainment would.
It's like
basically
maybe not even so much for entertainment, just because it makes stuff run smoother. So you guys got 2 problems, and every other day you guys are fighting, aggressive, looking for the moments like just get it done, you know.
Right.
And so they would set up fights, and I'd seen them. It was not safe for my young. And I got there and I saw this. I'm like, yo, everything is solved with violence here. Everything. Like you have an issue, someone does this, someone looks the wrong way. Within a month, there I had a full blown anxiety attack. I never even knew what anxiety was until one day I'm waking up, I'm going to brush my teeth, and there's these lines you follow right to the bathroom on the yellow lines, and I'm walking and I just start feeling lightheaded, and like I'm walking, next you know, just bloop, I fall out, fully pass out.
Just anxiety attack.
Anxiety. At the time I didn't know what it was, and I wake up and the doctor said I had a really severe anxiety attack. Like they had to put me on IVs, I had like no food, I was just like bad.
This is what's interesting about this is David also had anxiety attacks at summer camp. So you guys have that.
We have that in common. Somehow I think my sleepaway tennis camp was slightly different than your camp.
Sure. Kid that scared you is sleeping on the bunk above you.
I had a bully.
Jay and I will try not to make any sudden movements to startle you.
You guys, it's so similar what's happening here.
You know what it is. You know what
he's down with you. Yeah, he can.
I wouldn't last 5 minutes in a place like that.
But you're a sensitive kid too. I mean, I can't believe that you survived that environment.
You know what? I look back and I couldn't believe it myself because I am a super sensitive kid.
Yeah.
And being in that place, I realized I was way out of my comfort zone. You know? Everyone was hostile. You know, everyone was like either gangbanging. I hadn't even had sex yet. Everyone there had sex. Everyone was just like a whole different culture. And
was there in this, not to get too graphic of it, but in this facility did you have to watch out for yourself sexually? I mean,
not really.
Okay.
You know, I thank God I never really encountered anything like that.
Okay.
I think that's very movie.
That's
stuff for sure. Okay. It's like, and I think it was totally in my mind, you know, because you watch videos, you're like this, but it's just very violent.
It's
like
just
kids
violent.
Fight, like you just fight.
Were you able to avoid fighting, or you had to fight?
They had to fight. Like
you had to fight.
You had to fight. It's just it's gonna be how you run and maneuver in this place goes by if you defend yourself or not, you know.
Right.
And I had never really fought before. I maybe had some school like tussles and ruffles, but I think because I was big in size as a kid and stuff, it always kind of gave me an advantage. And here it was just like, you know, someone, I'll never forget, like I knocked down a fork and next thing you know, I was like, I was like, I'll pick it up for you. It's like, no, and he pushed me and next thing you know, just full on fight.
Because you had to, otherwise, if you don't fight back.
You're at the bottom of the barrel. Like everyone will pick on you. They'll take your food. Like they'll take, you know, on certain Fridays you get like a chocolate muffin. They'll take your muffin. Like you become dog food. Just everyone will pick on you. You know.
It's just like tennis camp.
Just like tennis.
The Friday chocolate muffin.
What a brawl.
They kept taking my muffins.
Jason, there's so
muffins ain't nothing to play about, man.
So I should say, pretty early on, I found out that he lived on the outs, about 2 blocks from the office that we had just purchased.
The downtown office.
We just rented for street posts on the rooftop. Yeah, downtown office. And so that was another reason I kept Jason close, because I was like, he's right
here.
He's
a good kid. He's smart. He lives when he's out. He lives right in the corner.
He's gonna be this is gonna be easy.
Right.
And then you got released.
All right. So you got released. You survived that.
I said, I can't. but I was never the same.
Yeah, of course.
I was never the same.
See, that's what's so fucked up.
You know, I was never, like, I look back and I'm like, they could have fucking gave me probation. You know, that shit would have scared me straight.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
seriously.
you were scared straight when the cops showed up
right
outside your head. Yeah.
Right then and there, going to court, I was like, man, can I get back into Cathedral? I'll be a good kid.
Yeah.
I'll never throw a ditching party. I promise. You know, and but no. And I think because they went so extreme, an extreme that would change me and my teenage self. I came home, first of all, like, I didn't trust nothing,
right?
You know, and I came home definitely with like it was an initiation. You know, I just went through this crazy ordeal, survived it, and I came home a little harder, a little tougher, a little more of a shell around me. Yeah. It was like I just went into like a criminal high school. So when I came home, here I am. Now I'm the baddest kid of all the private school kids, all the friends I grew up with. Like, you know,
one of us went to juvie. Yeah.
One of us went to juvie. That was me. You know what I mean? And it was funny because, like, just being around those kids again, it was just so different. Like, everybody would just look at me like, wow, like, I was like, oh man, like, it was crazy.
And you kind of got off on that.
Yes, for sure. It was my first little kind of like,
yeah, you were a celebrity.
Yeah, like, oh, you know, you're gonna feel that, all right. So now I'm feeling like, all right, I made this sacrifice to be the top dog. You know, like, I'm here. But I think what really happened to me was that I just got exposed to a lot of stuff, and I got more wounded than I was, and I was left in this place with a bigger void. Now I had not just where weed wasn't cutting in no more.
Right.
I started to dabble in different other things, and I honestly when I got released, I didn't think I would go back there because I was like, oh man, I never go. But I really quickly realized that I would eventually go back because at that time you could violate probation for anything, then you'd get back in. Like, I had a bunch of in and outs where I would go for a week, and
low violation, they'd put you back in juvie for a week
or so, just in juvenile hall. But it wasn't until I caught my second, I guess, bigger juvenile case, and then they sent me back to camp.
But your whole life just got totally derailed, and the chances of becoming like kind of just a normal kid living a lawful kind of productive life got so pushed aside, which is what your organization is all about, was trying to help kids get back into some sort of path.
And well, what happened was when Jason got arrested again and sent back to camp, I had enough pull with some of the probation folks. I'd built trusts with them, and they understood sort of what Street Poets was all about. And one in particular, that we were able to get Jason transferred back to the camp. We found him at another facility and had him transferred back to Camp Miller, which was the facility that
where you could see him. Yeah.
So
why is that? Thank God.
So the facility that I got sent to the second time camp, because I had a more severe charge, and they sent me to this full military like fucking boot camp, and it was rough. It was tough. It was tough. Like screaming every day in your face, you know, get up, wake up. It was military.
Right.
So when Chris pulled me from there and brought me back to Malibu, you know.
But the issue was, it was great to see him, and I was feeling really good about my ability to be able to make that happen. And then Jason shows up, and I'm like, this is not the same Jason that I worked with before. Like, there was he had a little pull with the staff there now. He was being put into these kind of leadership positions, but he was being a little bit he had basically become like the older kids in camp that had bullied him before. He was the bully now. And so when I brought him into the class thinking like, okay, you're going to be sitting in this circle setting a example for these other guys, his presence actually kept the other guys from doing the real work. And then he kind of knew that was the case. So he would like not show up for class one week, and at first I was kind of pissed off about it, but then I started to realize, like, you know, it's actually kind of, these classes works better when this motherfucker's not here, because you were just in a funky place. And so we ended up having a lot of one-on-ones during that time. Like, I would just he would sort of pull me aside, and we'd have these real conversations. But it was a little bit like, man, I'm doing what I got to do, and he was just running his own program, is what they say there, ROP.
Yeah, ROP.
Yeah, he had kind of figured out how to
figure out the system,
and
made it more livable by throwing some power around.
100%.
That is exactly what was going on.
I want to ask though, because when Chris was here last time, he told us this story about this moment when he took you to a diner and he's sitting down and talking to you. Is this before he goes back to juvie?
No, this is
after the second camp program.
Yeah.
So this was after the second time that Jason went to juvie, and he's come out, and you've seen now he's changed a lot, but now he's out, and you're thinking maybe you can reach him. Is that what's going on?
So when he came out again, I went right back to, all right, Jason, like put him in the headlock and try to bring him to things that are gonna open up his world and get him thinking beyond the streets.
But you're now like gone into a whole different space in terms of who you were as a person. You're kind of like,
yes, it's so crazy, man. So I'll give you a quick snip about it. But so I had completed my second camp program. The second time I went to jail, everything kind of flipped. I felt like I was a top dog. What you call it, top dog.
Right.
I had all the juice, all the staff. I got to get a little McDonald's burrito. You get all the little side, all the privileges. But like Chris said, I had kind of become the opposite of what I was the first time. I was like a bully, and I was like, I was a total asshole. And I just was a total asshole. And I remember like some of the kids in Chris's class that remember that one kid that came, was his name Chris? I was fucked up, man. And
what did you do to the one kid?
I just gave him a hard time. I threw shit at him, and I'd be like, you're a punk. Like, just gave kids a really hard time.
Because that's how you stay top
people
dog,
that and people that reminded him of what he had been. He would take it. He would, and if he saw me take an interest in something, that's part of why I didn't want him in class. Because if someone wrote a good poem and I was like giving them attention that I had given Jason before, like
that's not cool. Yeah,
there
was something in Jason that was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna,
you're going on shorts next fucking tomorrow.
Right, yeah.
Wait, what were the terms you said? You're going to go on shorts?
You're going to go on shorts. So we say, like, in the kitchen, maybe you get half your food.
Oh, on shorts.
Because at that time, the food's still pretty good. Not too horrible.
Right.
And so be like, you're going to go on shorts. That means you get half your food, half a portion.
Because you're going to make sure it happens. Because you have pulled with the staff at the kitchen
staff, which are usually the other mates, but my friends. I was in the laundry room, so just we could, or you're going to get fucked up clothing all week. Stealing clothes, holes in your...
The other thing I will say about Jason is he is a shapeshifter.
Yeah. Well, we've already seen one shape-shifting.
And so when he got out, there was the people who loved Jason kind of rallied around him and figured out a way to get him out to the Valley into Granada Hills High School, which is a good high school in the Valley. Somehow, it's kind of miraculous. The school administrators did not realize who he was, where he was coming from, and basically they were like, "Oh, look, we're looking at your transcript. You got all A's at a school in Malibu." Like, didn't even realize what. And Jason, I think eyes were just like, "Oh my God, I can I can finish up in a regular high school with like cute girls and sports." Basically, I can parachute back into this life.
Yeah.
And you basically did that. So, and graduated. Miraculously.
Did you drop your shit? Your whole tough guy in prison?
He blended so well there. Let me tell you, white American kids love gangster shit. They just love it. From 50 Cent to Tupac to they just live and breathe that shit, man. They welcome me with open arms.
So you're a celebrity.
But I get there, and like Chris said, my counselor's going through my class. She's like, all our English classes are full, but we're going to put you in this AP Humanities class. And it's going to count for your English. I'm like, AP? What the fuck, AP? Then I get to this AP Humanities class, and it's my first day, and first thing I notice, I'm like way fucking standing out. I got a white t-shirt, 501 jeans. It's fucking 105 degrees. I'm just sweating. Everyone's like Hollister shorts and sandals and flips, Abercrombie. And
you're in prison attire.
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
In a class with kids that are all going
to college. Yeah. These kids are also like the most popular kids, the party goers. And so the teacher's like, "Hey guys, I want to know what's going on. How's your summer? What happened? Where have you guys been?" Just sitting there sweating, like, what am I gonna say? What are we gonna do? Everyone's saying the vacation in France and fucking, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And when he called me, I was the last one to get up. I just like kind of froze, like, just say the fucking truth, And I was like, hi, I'm Jason. I try to keep it short. This is my new class, I'm coming from LA. Thank you guys. And the teacher was like, no, man. Everyone here knows each other. We've been here together for years now. Like, you're the new guy. Tell us about yourself. And I was like, oh, well, you really want to? He's like, yeah, please. So I was just like, oh, wow, just got out of jail. And it was crazy. Everyone's desk, like, literally went like, I was like, oh, damn. But it literally was crazy because I kind of became, after that moment, I became like a popular kid.
So that's great. That's a great experience, like to pull you back into the world a little bit.
Kind of, except that he's popular because of some fucked up stuff.
You're popular for all these reasons that you don't want to be celebrated.
So get us to the moment, Chris.
So you amazingly graduated. It was kind of a miracle. I mean, you know how your mother's prayers, I think, got you there. And then he went back to living at home in his old neighborhood. And one day he came to Street Poets, and I'm thinking we're about to talk about college options for him.
Right.
And he told me he'd been jumped into his gang, that he joined the gang.
What were you thinking?
I think back about that time, and I think Granada Hills had just served like a cushy little island for me.
Right.
It was like fantasy. I got to be with these rich white kids, and I went to prom and all these things that for sure I had never even thought I was gonna do.
Right.
I went to prom, had a beautiful girlfriend, and went to grad night and did all these great things. But like Chris said, there was still like all these wounds that were just being fed there as like the popular kid who's a gangster, who's a bad kid, but they loved me for all the bad shit.
Right.
Everyone liked. So I think when I got back home, all that bad stuff was in control. Well, that's who I'd been persona. That's who I'd been.
You had sort of made your reputation on being this badass. Now you get home and you kind of have to like either continue to be that, or then who am I?
It got real at home.
Yeah, it got real. You're in a bad place now. It's not Granada Hills kids.
You can't be a fake gangster at home. If you're gonna keep doing this. Yeah.
And my neighbor happened to be where I was at. He was been older gang member forever. I started to sell crack from and drugs from, and it just became where it was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. These guys have money, they're depression. I got jumped into my gang by the older guys from my neighborhood, so not so much young guys who had already been established in that world, who had power and control of the gang. So I was like, all right, this is a badge of honor to get these guys to jump me in to this neighborhood, and it'll come with some kind of power already.
Right.
And I was already selling drugs. So I think at the time I was just like, the power, the control.
Yeah.
I want to stay with this.
What does that mean, jumped in? Like, what was the actual ritual?
They kick your ass. 3 guys kick your ass.
And was it bad?
I'm a big guy. I always kind of been this little big, kind of teddy bear kind of guy. Those guys, only one of them was actually pretty healthy. The other one was a heroin addict, and the other one drank a lot. So I feel like, because I was physically able, I feel like I did get hurt, my nose bled and stuff, but I feel like I got the best of them. Which they were not too happy. They actually called stop. Like, hey, that's it. They called.
Probably doesn't happen a lot of the time.
Yeah, but I did. I mean, there's 3 guys, 3 grown men. So you're gonna get. I got roughed up, and I got beat up, and I definitely had a purple eye. I had a huge ball right here, and it's sad. When I got home that day, my mom kind of knew what had happened.
Yeah,
I denied it to her at first, like nah, but my mom knows everyone in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
everyone. Like within days, every lady told mom that there's those smarters that they had seen me right on the wall. And
that happened at the same time. Another one of my mentees was shot and killed. So it was like, and in a weird kind of way, Eric's death, the guy who died, was this hearing from Jason in this way was almost as painful, if not as painful, because it just felt like he had chosen it. It was so like self-inflicted and such a it just felt like it was horrible. It was horrible.
So you reach out to him, you guys sit down and have this lunch at a diner or something, and tell us what happens.
Out of my love for Chris and how much Chris had helped me up until that age, I knew I was about to embark on this journey where I couldn't see Chris.
Right.
Where I was going, there was no room for what Chris brought.
So you kind of went to meet with him just to say goodbye almost.
Yes. Like, yo, man, up to whatever we've had up to this point is done. Yeah. And I think the energies, whatever I was carrying with me, the wounds I was carrying with me, knew that, you know, and they were like, yo, let's go say bye to this freaking white wizard guy and freaking get back to this darkness over here.
Yeah.
You know, we got that guy out the way. This becomes a lot easier.
So tell us from your point of view, Chris.
I just saw something. We were sitting across from each other at El Cholo restaurant, and I was looking at him, and I watched this sort of snake-like mist move from his belly up into his chest, and then kind of in and out of his neck, and then up into his head. And I just kind of, without even thinking, I was just like, "Hey, what was that?" And pointed at the neck, on the neck, where I'd seen it kind of go in and out of his neck. And Jason said, "You can see that?"
So I'm fascinated now.
Yeah.
Because I totally can put myself in your shoes.
Yeah.
Right? And like I've seen this crazy thing.
Yes.
Now from your shoes, you're like, oh, you can see that?
What were you?
So what were you feeling, thinking? What was this thing? What did you see? What did you know already? Like, what was all of that?
In part 2 of this episode,
I had got very accustomed to like hitting this switch where I was giving up my power to this thing, where I would be like, okay, I knew, like when I had a gun in my hand, when I was gonna go do robbing, when I was gonna go assault, when I was gonna go attack, when I was gonna go step out of my heart, this thing,
you just let this,
yes, I was
let it take over.
Yes, Jason, myself, this natural, loving baby kid,
step aside.
Yeah, this what this takes,
and ultimately,
I just became so much more rooted in myself,
right,
and in my love and what I believed in, that almost what I would say, like a piece of them was like, yo man, you made it.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to Spiritually Challenged on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts.